different kind of power. Jacinda Ardern, you write about it's not just your political life, and it's not just the life that we know from your public service, but also from your childhood. You talk about, from your childhood, your sense of stage fright.
Yeah.
When you were younger.
Yeah, yeah.
Through you're trying to conceive, which is you were a world leader, giving birth in office.
Yeah.
But how long? When did you know that you were going to have a child? Were you already in office or before you got
No, I mean, it was probably the most awkward timing you could possibly have imagined, because in New Zealand you don't always know that you've won on election night. That was certainly the case in 2017.
You don't know here either, by the way. We used to, but we don't know anymore.
So in our case, we had our outcome, and there was one party that held the balance of power. So they negotiated with our party and the Conservatives. We were in the middle of those negotiations, about 3 days out from them concluding, waiting to see if I would become Prime Minister, when I found out I was pregnant. That's what I said. Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing that people may not know or may not remember from the times you talked about this before is that you weren't originally the candidate. There was someone ahead.
No.
You're one of the.
I mean, you may be familiar with this turn of events or this kind of scenario, but about 7 weeks out from the election, the leader who was running to be Prime Minister in my team stood down. And then he nominated me.
Even though you said I don't do that.
I had very clearly said to him that I did not feel it was a winning strategy. And I also didn't think that I was the best choice. And so I tried to convince him to stay, but he had another idea, and he nominated me, and 7 weeks later I found myself as Prime Minister.
Well, I've never written a memoir. I've never written a memoir.
You
what
should.
Was it? Really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's interesting.
Yeah.
But what was this experience like for you? What did it do for you to write a memoir?
It was hard. It was really hard work. And then there's this curious thing when you write a memoir, when people then go and review it, they're kind of reviewing your life as well as the way you've written about your life.
Sure.
But the experience of it itself, a friend, when I tried to explain to them how it felt, they said, "Oh, so it's therapy with a deadline." And that's quite accurate. If you choose to, you can put a lot of yourself on a page, if you choose to, and for better or worse, that's what I've chosen to do.
Well, there's a moment that a lot of people in the world saw that you were a different type of leader, and I just love this photograph right here. Give me a second. This is when you walked onto the floor of the UN General Assembly with your daughter in your arms. Looking back, this is 6 years ago.
Yeah.
What do you remember of that time? What do you remember of that moment?
Well, I remember not being aware of the cameras, and you can tell that we're not really aware of them because poor old Paula, look at this face she's making here. We were just on the General Assembly floor after an event for Nelson Mandela. And I came down, and unexpectedly, Clark had brought Neve over because she'd woken early from a nap. So I was just having a very normal moment of saying hello to my 4-month-old baby. Mm-hmm. And what I hope, though, people see is that there wasn't just a photo of me. That whole group of people helped me be Prime Minister and a mother. So I had a team.
Well, the book, I like this. I like the dedication here. The book is dedicated to criers, worriers, and huggers. And on behalf of all of us, why did you dedicate it to us?
When it first came through on the edit, they had this italicized, and it looked like to the criers, warriors, and buggers. And I thought in New Zealand that would be all right, but probably not anywhere else. I did that because when I left Parliament, I gave a speech where I just took the lid off a little bit and talked a little bit about all of the things that I brought to politics that I thought were incompatible. Being a bit of a warrior, being quite, openly in times of grief, a bit more open with human emotion. And after I talked about that, a lot of people came up to me behind closed hands and would say what that meant to them. And so I thought maybe it's time to give them a little bit of a nudge that those are the individuals that I think we need a bit more of, the ones with humility, the ones who do wear their heart on their sleeve. And you can lead and have those traits. So that's why it's dedicated to them.
Well, one of the things... As you said earlier, that you've suffered from imposter syndrome when you were younger, and that you thought maybe you'd be too thin-skinned when you were younger to be in politics. And there's a reason to worry about being thin-skinned, because you do get a lot of slings and arrows. I understand that you have a suspicion that maybe some members of your family did not vote for you.
Yeah, I mean, I come from a very politically diverse family, and I brought my grandmother to one of my early candidate meetings, and I was asked a question from the floor about climate change, and I spoke passionately on my views, and the room booed me, and I've never to this day been able to determine whether my grandmother joined them or not.
She was not a Labour Party fan?
She was not. I mean, she very sadly passed during the election campaign, but beautifully before she passed, told me how proud she was of me, but then suspiciously was never forced to break her record of voting Conservatively her whole living life. So, bless her.
We're going to take another break. We'll be right back with more Jacinda Ardern, everybody.